everyone, welcome to another episode of Gamer Logic. Today we're going back to remember probably one of the greatest boxing games of all time, and that is Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! You know, going back, way back to the 80s here, my dad's coming home from the video store. He's on a mission to rent us yet another Nintendo game. And he comes home, he opens the door, I run up to the door. We were living in an apartment at the time. And I asked him, Dad, what'd you get us? What'd you get us? Last time he got Dragon, another time he got his Castlevania 2, and I was waiting to see what kind of awesomeness he brought home. So he shows me the front cover, and he says, I got you Mike Tyson's Punch-Out!, a boxing game. And I gotta be honest with you guys, when my dad told me it was a boxing game, I was pretty disappointed. The last boxing game I actually played prior to Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Was on the Intellivision, and it was a boxing game. I think it was called Teleboxing or something like that. Pretty much all it was you had two boxers on the screen. One was completely blue, made of blue pixels. The other one was made of red pixels. And it was pretty reminiscent of Rockin' Sock'em Robots. It was alright. I think I was like 3 years old when I was playing it, so it seemed interesting then, but for some reason the fact that we were going to be playing a boxing game just really didn't excite me. So it didn't excite me to the point where I didn't want to play it first. My dad actually popped it in first, which was kind of a rarity. Usually the kids always played the Nintendo games first. He popped it in, I sat back and watched, and within 5 minutes of watching him play Punch-Out!, you realize that this is no ordinary boxing game. I still think, to this day after playing this, and obviously you'll see in my review here, that this is probably one of the greatest boxing games of all time. From the cast of characters, to all the little nuances, from trying to find out what the weaknesses of your opponent, from Little Mac dancing around and blocking, dodging from left to right, the hooks, the jabs. It's just all very well done, and it still holds up to today. There's nothing that really captures the wonderful moments, the nostalgia that the original Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Did. So that's just some of my memories on Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! As I remember them. So now let's check out my review of the game. Here we go.
Released in 1987, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Was one of the first major Nintendo titles that I could recall having a major sports celebrity being featured in the commercial. For those wondering, yes, this was before Tyson served time in jail, bit off people's ears, and had a giant face tattoo. Punch-Out! Tells the story of Little Mac, a young boxer accompanied by his cornerman and trainer Doc, on a quest to become the minor, major, and world champions of a major boxing association. On his way, he'll face a variety of opponents from around the world, each featuring their own hysterical stereotypes. Right away, the animations and look of Punch-Out! Will draw you in. From the giant boxing characters that Little Mac faces, like the large King Hippo, imposing Bald Bull, and that macho man, to the conversation pieces between the boxers in between rounds. The look is incredible, and it still holds up today. Of course, you can't forget that iconic NES game scene of Little Mac and Doc training on the streets of New York in his pink jumpsuit. Hey, real men wear pink. This game requires lightning-fast reflexes, so thankfully the control scheme responds in a lightning manner. Knowing when to dodge, block, and duck is an obvious strategy to winning any boxing match, as well as knowing the rhythm of your opponent and when to hit them with jabs, crosses, hooks, and Mac's superstar uppercut. Toss in some great match music, always changing difficulty, and not knowing if your opponent is going to stay down, this game gives you that real big fight feel. The final match, of course, is infamous in the video game world, and I'm talking about the dream match between Mike Tyson and Little Mac. I beat him several times back in the day, but while I was capturing footage for this review, Iron Mike kicked my ass several times over. If there's anything I remember though, it was feeling like a world champion after beating Tyson. I'm sure there are others out there who know exactly what I'm talking about. A few years after its original release, Punch-Out! Was re-released, and while there were a few minor differences from the original release, the major one was the removal of Mike Tyson. While many believe this was due to the jail sentence Mike was currently serving at the time, and I'm sure that didn't help, the license to use Tyson simply expired. For the final fight in the re-release, we got Mr. Dream, who's still an ass kicker, mostly because he's simply a re-skinned Mike Tyson. As far as Punch-Out goes, it really is the undisputed champion on the NES in terms of boxing games. Some often refer to Power Punch 2 as a spiritual sequel to Punch-Out, and the game itself has even been ROM-hacked to say as much. But the game is in such poor caliber when compared to Punch-Out that it's not even a contender to me. Despite the popularity of this game, Punch-Out has only had 2 sequels. One on the SNES, which takes more cues from the arcade releases of Punch-Out than the NES, and the Wii version, which features the return of Little Mac and various opponents, but still just doesn't capture the greatness of the original. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out scores a 10 out of 10 in my book, and is easily one of the best boxing games of all time. Thanks for watching.